21 bullets ripped through MalcolmX. 3 shooters pulled the triggers. 2 escaped. 1 promise remained. Bumpy Johnson vowed to find truth. But the truth led him to the FBI, to the Nation of Islam, to the men Malcolm died protecting. What did Bumpy do that made the most powerful government in the world negotiate with a Harlem gangster to understand how it all led here? We go back to where it truly began, February 21st, 1965, 3:10 in the afternoon. Audubon Ballroom, Harlem. MalcolmX lay on the stage, 21 bullet holes in his body. The crowd screamed, women wailed, men shouted for doctors who couldn't save him. Security tackled one shooter, Talmadge Hayer, dragged him through the chaos, blood on his face, crowd beating him. 2 others escaped through the panic, slipped through the exits like smoke. Bumpy Johnson stood in the back of the ballroom, frozen, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He had promised Malcolm protection. He had failed. The stage lights illuminated Malcolm's body, his suit jacket torn, his white shirt soaked red. Betty Shabazz screamed somewhere in the chaos. Their daughters, 6 little girls who would grow up without a father, all because Bumpy Johnson hadn't kept his word. Then Malcolm's head turned, just slightly. His eyes found Bumpy's across the distance. 3 seconds. That's all it took. And in those 3 seconds, Bumpy saw something he would never forget. Not anger, not accusation, just disappointment. The quiet, crushing disappointment of a man who had expected better. Malcolm's eyes closed. His chest stopped moving. The greatest voice in Black America fell silent. And Bumpy Johnson made a new promise, one he would keep. Even if it meant becoming the monster everyone already thought he was. Police sirens wailed outside. Ambulance lights flashed through the windows. But Bumpy knew it was too late. Had known it the moment the first shot rang out. Had known it even before that. The moment Malcolm walked onto that stage, death was already waiting. That moment would haunt him. But first, he needed to go back 7 days. Back to when Malcolm had walked into Small's paradise with death already written on his face. February 14th, 1965. 9:47 in the evening. Small's paradise. Table 7. MalcolmX walked in exhausted. Hunted. His house had been firebombed 3 days earlier. Molotov cocktails through the windows at 3 in the morning. Betty and the girls barely escaped. Death threats came daily. Phone calls in the middle of the night. Letters with photographs of his children. Crosses burned on lawns. Men following him in cars with tinted windows. He sat across from Bumpy Johnson. Dark circles under his eyes. Hands shaking slightly. The waitress brought coffee. Malcolm didn't touch it. They're going to kill me. Bumpy. Bumpy leaned forward, studied Malcolm's face. The man looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Maybe hadn't. The weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. Maybe next week. Maybe tomorrow. But they will. Bumpy's jaw tightened. Then let me protect you. 20 men. Armed. 24 hours. Malcolm shook his head. Slow. Deliberate. I won't live in fear. You're living in death. Same thing now. Malcolm's voice was quiet, resigned. But I need you to promise me something. What? Malcolm leaned forward. His voice dropped to barely a whisper. The jazz music covered their conversation. Protected it. When they kill me, and they will, don't seek revenge. Seek truth. Find out who really ordered it. Not just the shooters, the men behind them. The ones who will walk away clean. Bumpy said nothing. His hands rested on the table. Steady. Controlled. But inside, every instinct screamed at him to argue, to tell Malcolm he was wrong. That revenge was the only language these people understood. I know what you're thinking, Malcolm continued. You're thinking about the men who pulled the triggers, about making them pay. But that's not justice. That's just more violence. I need you to promise me. Truth over revenge. He stood, extended his hand across the table. The jazz band played softly in the background. Couples danced. People laughed. The world kept spinning while MalcolmX prepared to die. Promise me, Bumpy, truth over revenge. Bumpy shook his hand. Firm grip. Direct eye contact. I promise. Malcolm reached into his jacket, pulled out a small leather notebook. Brown, worn at the edges, pages filled with his careful handwriting. He placed it on the table between them. If I die, this is your first clue. Bumpy picked it up, flipped through the pages. Names, dates, locations, all written in Malcolm's meticulous script, the handwriting of a man who knew his time was running out. Don't open it until after, Malcolm said. You'll know when. Bumpy slipped the notebook into his jacket pocket, felt its weight against his chest. A promise made physical. One more thing, Malcolm added, his voice even quieter now. When you find the truth, make sure it doesn't die with you. Make sure the world knows. Not for revenge, for justice. 7 days later, Malcolm was dead. And Bumpy Johnson was holding that notebook, trying to remember how to breathe. The funeral came faster than anyone expected. 6 days of chaos. News cameras, reporters, FBI agents in unmarked cars photographing everyone who came to pay respects. The government watching. Always watching. February 27th, 1965. Faith Temple Church of God in Christ. 5,000 mourners packed the building, lined the streets outside. Harlem shut down, stores closed, flags at half-mast. The city held its breath. Black America wept. White America watched nervously, wondering what would happen next. Betty Shabazz sat in the front row, black veil over her face, her 6 daughters beside her. The oldest was 6 years old, the youngest, twins, were 8 months. They clung to their mother's dress. They didn't understand why Daddy wouldn't wake up, wouldn't understand for years. Bumpy stood 3 rows back, eyes scanning the crowd like a predator, looking for faces that didn't belong, for movements that seemed wrong, for the ghosts who had escaped the Audubon ballroom. 6 days ago, NYPD Detective Frank Russo had found him, one of the few honest cops in New York. White man, Irish. Didn't care about the color lines that divided the city, just cared about the truth. Rare quality in a cop. Russo had slipped Bumpy a manila envelope in a dark alley at 2 in the morning. Inside were 3 police sketches, pencil drawings, rough but recognizable. 3 men who escaped the Audubon, Russo had whispered, looking over his shoulder, making sure they were alone. One's already in custody, Talmadge Hayer, beaten by the crowd, arrested at the scene. 2 are still free, the shotgun man and the distraction man. Bumpy had studied the sketches under a streetlight, memorizing every line, every detail. FB, I told us to stop looking, Russo continued, his voice bitter, angry. National security. They said, case closed. Don't ask questions. Don't investigate. Just file the reports and move on. But I figured you might want these names. He'd handed Bumpy a second sheet. Names, addresses, known associates. Everything the NYPD had collected before the shutdown order came down. Bumpy had tucked the papers inside his coat. You didn't see me tonight. Never do, Russo had replied, then disappeared into the darkness. Now at Malcolm's funeral, Bumpy's hand moved to his jacket pocket, felt the outline of the leather notebook. He hadn't opened it yet, waiting for the right moment. waiting for Malcolm's voice to tell him what to do. The service began. Ministers spoke. Activists eulogized. Ossie Davis delivered the final words, "Our shining black prince." The phrase would echo through history, would be quoted in books, remembered in documentaries. But right now, in this moment, it was just grief. Bumpy barely heard any of it. His eyes kept scanning, counting, calculating, looking for the shadows that didn't fit. Then something made him stop. A feeling. The kind of instinct that keeps a man alive in Harlem's underworld for 30 years. The sixth sense that separates survivors from corpses. His hand slipped into his pocket, pulled out the notebook. His fingers moved to the last page. Malcolm's handwriting, more hurried than the rest. Written in the final days, maybe the final hours. Leon D., FBI plant. Row 14 will come to my funeral. Bumpy's eyes snapped up. Row 14. He counted. Once. Twice. Making sure. Third seat from the aisle. A thin black man in his 30s. Cheap suit. Brown. Didn't fit right. Too short in the sleeves. Too wide in the shoulders. Fedora pulled low over his face. Trying to blend in. Trying to be invisible. Failing. But Bumpy saw him. Leon Davis. According to the police sketches. According to witness statements. Leon had started the fight. The distraction. Shouted about a pickpocket at 3:05 in the afternoon. The exact moment before the shooting started. Drew security's attention. Created the chaos. Made the opening for the shooters. The distraction man. And now he sat in row 14 at Malcolm's funeral. Exactly where Malcolm had predicted. Like Malcolm had known. Had seen it coming. Had left breadcrumbs for Bumpy to follow. Bumpy's eyes locked onto Leon's face. 3 seconds. That's all it took. Leon felt the stare. Turned his head. Met Bumpy's gaze. Recognition flashed across his face. Fear. Panic. The knowledge that he'd been caught. That all his careful planning, all his precautions, had meant nothing. Leon looked away first. Tried to appear calm. But his hands gripped the pew in front of him, knuckles white, body tense. Ready to run. Already planning his escape. Bumpy leaned slightly to his left. Illinois. Gordon sat beside him. 6'4", 240 pounds of muscle. Loyal to Bumpy since 1952. Had saved Bumpy's life twice. Would do it again, without hesitation. Row 14. Third from the aisle. That's one of them. Illinois followed his gaze. Took 3 seconds to memorize the face, the build, the posture. Everything. You want me to grab him? Not here. Not at Malcolm's funeral. We follow him. And when he's alone, we make him talk. The service ended. 5,000 people filed out slowly, saying goodbye, touching the casket, weeping. Bumpy waited, watched Leon stand, watched him move toward the aisle. Nervous, checking over his shoulder every few steps. Outside, the crowd dispersed. Leon walked quickly, head down, hands in pockets, moving with purpose but trying not to draw attention. Illinois and 3 other men fanned out. Professional. Invisible. They'd done this 100 times. Knew how to blend into Harlem's streets. How to follow without being seen. 6-hour shadow operation. Leon led them through Harlem. Stopped at 2 different payphones. Made calls. Short conversations. Looked over his shoulder. Went to a barber shop. Sat for 30 minutes without getting a haircut. Just watching the door. Changed subway trains twice. Got off. Got back on. Classic counter-surveillance moves. But Bumpy's men were better. They rotated. Changed clothes. Stayed back. Never let Leon see the same face twice. Used shop windows as mirrors. Crossed streets at angles. Professionals tracking an amateur. At 9:03 at night. Leon walked into Small's Paradise. Saturday night. The place was packed. Jazz band on stage. Piano. Bass. Drums. And a singer with a voice like honey and smoke. 250 people drinking. Laughing. Trying to forget that Malcolm X was dead. Trying to pretend the world hadn't changed. Leon sat at the bar. Ordered whiskey. Neat. His hands shook when he lifted the glass. Took a long drink. Ordered another immediately. Bumpy walked in 5 minutes later. Illinois and 15 men followed. They spread out through the club. Casual. Natural. Just another Saturday night in Harlem. Celebrating. Mourning. Existing. But every exit was covered. Every window. Every back door. The net was closing. Tightening with each passing second. Bumpy didn't approach immediately. He took a table in the corner. Ordered bourbon. Watched Leon for 20 minutes. Reading his body language. The way he checked the door every 30 seconds. The way his right hand kept moving to his waistband. Probably carrying. Small caliber. Maybe a .38. Definitely amateur. Leon ordered another whiskey. Then another. Trying to calm his nerves. Trying to convince himself he was safe. That Bumpy Johnson hadn't recognized him at the funeral. That he'd gotten away clean. Bumpy studied the escape routes. The crowd density. The sight lines. Illinois had positioned men perfectly. 3 near the front door. 2 by the kitchen exit. 1 blocking the hallway to the bathrooms. 4 scattered through the crowd. Armed. Ready. Waiting for the signal. The calculation was complete. Every variable accounted for. Every contingency covered. This was what Bumpy did. Read situations. Control outcomes. Turn chaos into order. Bumpy stood. Walked slowly across the club. The jazz band played. Couples danced. No one noticed the predator moving through the room. No one except Leon, who sensed something. Looked up, saw Bumpy approaching. Too late to run. Bumpy sat on the bar stool beside Leon. Close, deliberate, invading his space. Leon Davis. Leon jumped. Turned. His face went white when he saw Bumpy Johnson. The whiskey glass slipped from his hand. Shattered on the bar. Amber liquid spreading across the wood. I don't know what you're talking about. Bumpy's voice was calm. Quiet. More dangerous than shouting. February 21st. Audubon Ballroom. You started a fight at 3:05 in the afternoon. 3 seconds later, Malcolm X was shot 21 times. Leon's hand moved toward his waistband. Fast. Instinctive. Going for the gun. Illinois' gun pressed against Leon's spine from behind. The cold metal unmistakable through the cheap suit jacket. Don't. The jazz band stopped playing. The singer's voice died mid-note. 250 people turned to look. The atmosphere shifted. Celebration to confrontation in 3 seconds. Silence fell like a curtain. Heavy. Suffocating. Bumpy stood. Addressed the room. His voice carried to every corner. 30 years of authority. 30 years of respect. Ladies and gentlemen, this man helped kill Malcolm X, and tonight he's going to tell us why. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Murmurs, chairs scraping, people standing, anger rising like heat, like fire waiting for oxygen. 4 of Bumpy's men moved to block the exits. Visible now, no more pretense. Showing their weapons. Making it clear, no one was leaving until this was finished. Leon looked at the crowd. Hostile faces, angry whispers, hands forming fists. The mood turning violent, dangerous, no escape. Nowhere to run. Trapped, Bumpy's voice cut through the noise. You have 2 choices. Confess here now, in front of everyone, or I let these good people decide what happens to you. The crowd pressed closer. A man shouted, "Make him talk." A woman cursed. Someone threw a glass. It shattered against the wall behind the bar. Glass raining down. Leon's voice cracked, barely a whisper. Desperate. I'm FBI. The room exploded. Shouts, screams, accusations. Betrayal. The band members stood frozen on stage. The bartender backed away. 250 people surged forward, wanting blood, wanting justice. Bumpy held up one hand. The crowd stopped. 30 years of respect. 30 years of fear. One gesture and Harlem obeyed. Waited. Listened. Talk. Leon was sweating. Terrified. The words tumbled out. Fast. Desperate. My name is Leon Davis. I've been a federal informant since 1962. Agent Dale Morrison recruited me. Told me to infiltrate the Nation of Islam. Report on MalcolmX. Track his movements. Record his meetings. Write down everything he said. Everyone he met. Everything. Bumpy leaned forward. And the shooting. Morrison told me to be at the Audubon on February 21st. Said it was routine surveillance. Just another day. Just another report. But when I got there, 2 soldiers approached me. Men I'd never seen before. Told me to start a fight at exactly 3:05 in the afternoon. They said it was a loyalty test, to prove I was still committed to the nation, to prove I wasn't a traitor. I didn't know they were going to kill him, I swear to God. I didn't know. A woman in the crowd screamed, "You helped them murder Malcolm." The surge came again, angrier, more violent, hands reaching, voices demanding blood, demanding justice, demanding revenge. Bumpy didn't move, didn't shout, just stood there, calm, in control, master of the moment. But this time, he didn't stop them immediately. Let them press close. Let Leon feel their rage. Let the fear build, psychological pressure, breaking him down piece by piece, making him understand that his life hung by a thread. That thread was Bumpy's control. Leon's eyes darted frantically, looking for help that wasn't coming. Please, I didn't know. They told me it was a test. Just a loyalty test. Who told you? Someone shouted from the crowd. The soldiers, from the mosque. Temple number 7. Names Abudayar. Another voice demanded. Give us names. Bumpy raised his hand again. Silence returned, but the anger remained. Coiled, ready to strike. Ready to tear Leon apart. Leon is going to give me 3 names, Bumpy said. His voice carried absolute authority, the voice of a man who'd ruled Harlem's underworld for 3 decades. The names of the shooters, and then he's going to tell me who ordered it. Ugh, Leon looked at Bumpy, tears streaming down his face, mascara of fear. If I talk, no eye kills my family, my wife, my children. They'll burn my house down with them inside. If you don't talk, this crowd kills you. Right here. Right now. Choose. The calculation was simple, brutal, effective. The mathematics of survival. Leon broke. First shooter, Thomas Hagen. He used the name Talmadge Hayer. He's the one they caught. The crowd beat him half to death at the scene. Broke his leg. Cracked his ribs. He's in custody now. Second shooter, William Bradley, shotgun, from Newark. Temple number 25. Big man, 6'2", 200 pounds. Used a sawed-off 12 gauge. Hit Malcolm in the chest. Third shooter. I don't know his real name. They called him Brother Khalil. Quiet. Professional. Didn't talk much. From Harlem. Mosque number 7. Malcolm's old temple. The place where he built his ministry. They sent someone from his own mosque to kill him. The crowd murmured. Someone cursed. The betrayal cut deep. Malcolm's own people, his own mosque. The place where he'd preached, where he'd built his following, where he'd changed lives. Bumpy pulled a small tape recorder from his jacket, placed it on the bar, pressed record. The reels turned slowly, capturing everything. Say it again. All of it. Leon repeated everything. FBI involvement, Agent Dale Morrison's name. The recruitment in 1962. The surveillance. The infiltration. The orders. The 3 shooters. Thomas Hagen. William Bradley. Brother Khalil. The fight at 305. The loyalty test. The lie. Every detail. Every name. Every betrayal. When he finished, Bumpy stopped the recorder, slipped it back into his jacket. The evidence secured. The truth captured. Permanent. Leon's eyes filled with hope. Desperate. Pathetic. So I can go. I told you everything. I cooperated. So I can go now. Right. No. The hope died. Crashed and burned in 3 seconds. You're going to make a phone call to William Bradley. Tell him you need to meet urgently. Tell him FBI is asking questions. Tell him it's important. Leon's face went pale, paler than before. Ghost white. He'll kill me. You're asking me to call a man who just killed Malcolm X. He'll know it's a trap. He'll kill me. Bumpy smiled. Cold. Dangerous. The smile of a man who'd killed before and would kill again, who understood violence, who wielded it like a surgeon's scalpel. No, I'll kill him. You're just the bait. The front door burst open. 6 men in dark suits, guns drawn, federal agents, clean-cut, professional, deadly serious. FBI badges gleaming under the club lights. Agent Dale Morrison led them. Face flushed with rage, eyes locked on Bumpy Johnson. White man, 45 years old, 20 years with the Bureau, used to being obeyed. Bumpy Johnson, step away from the informant. The crowd froze. 250 people, 6 federal agents, guns drawn. The standoff hung in the air like thunder before lightning. Morrison pushed through the crowd, aggressive. Entitled, Leon Davis is under federal protection. You're obstructing justice. Bumpy didn't move, didn't stand, didn't even turn his head. Just sat there, calm, in control. Justice. You mean covering up how FBI helped kill Malcolm X? Morrison's jaw tightened. His hand moved to his holster. That's classified information. You're interfering with a federal investigation. Investigation. Bumpy finally turned, looked Morrison in the eye. You shut down the investigation 6 days ago. National security. Remember? Morrison's face flushed red, anger, embarrassment. Both. I'm not going to warn you again. Step away from the informant. Bumpy pulled the tape recorder from his jacket, held it up. I just recorded Leon's confession. So did 12 other people in this room. He gestured around the club. Hands rose, one by one. 12 people. Tape recorders. Cameras. Recording everything, every word, every admission. Morrison's face went pale. The color drained like water through a sieve. Bumpy continued, voice quiet. Dangerous. Here's the deal. Agent Morrison, you take Leon into witness protection. Give him a new identity. Keep him safe. And in exchange, none of these recordings go to the press. Morrison's hand moved toward his gun. Instinct. Training. The wrong move. Don't, Bumpy said, even quieter now. You shoot me in front of 250 witnesses. You start a riot that ends with federal agents in body bags and a national scandal. Think about it. Morrison looked at the crowd. Angry black faces surrounding him. Closing in. Hostile. Waiting for an excuse. Any excuse. He lowered his gun. Fine. Leon. Let's go. Leon stood, relief flooding his face. He'd escaped. Survived. Would disappear into witness protection. New name. New life. Far from Harlem. He took 2 steps toward Morrison. Then Bumpy's voice stopped him. One more thing. Agent Morrison. Morrison turned. Suspicious. What mo? Before Leon leaves, he's making one phone call. To William Bradley. Absolutely not. Bumpy held up the tape recorder, thumb on the play button. Or this goes to the New York Times tomorrow morning. Front page. FBI informant admits federal involvement in MalcolmX assassination. Your name. Leon's name. Everything. Morrison stared at Bumpy. 10 seconds. Calculating. Weighing options. All bad. He nodded. Once. Sharp. Angry. What happened next would determine whether William Bradley lived to see sunrise. Bumpy gestured to the bartender. Phone. The bartender placed a black rotary phone on the bar. Cord stretched tight. Leon looked at it like it was a snake. Call him, Bumpy said. Leon's hands shook as he dialed. 7 digits. Each one felt like a death sentence. The phone rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. A voice answered. Deep. Suspicious. Yeah. Brother William. It's Leon. Silence. Then, what do you want? We need to talk. FBI is asking questions about February 21st. They're closing in. We need to meet. Tonight. Why are you calling me? Leon glanced at Bumpy. The gun pressed against his spine. Because you're the only one I trust. Brother, please. 3 in the morning. Newark Docks. Warehouse number 3. Come alone. William's voice turned cold. Why there? Neutral ground. Private. Safe. I'm scared. Brother. Really scared. A long pause. Leon could hear William breathing, thinking, calculating. All right. 3 in the morning. But Leon. Yes. If this is a setup, I'll kill you slow. Before Leon could respond, Bumpy leaned close, whispered in his ear. Leon's eyes widened. Terror absolute. One more thing. William, Leon said, voice cracking. Bring the shotgun you used that day. We need to destroy it. Make sure there's no evidence. Another pause. Longer this time. How do you know about that? FBI mentioned it. Please. Brother, we need to be careful. 3 in the morning. Don't be late. The line went dead. Leon hung up, turned to Bumpy, face white as bone. He's going to kill me. Bumpy smiled. Cold. Predatory. No, I'm going to kill him first. Morrison grabbed Leon's arm, pulled him toward the door. The other agents formed a protective circle, moving fast, getting out before the crowd turned violent. At the doorway, Morrison looked back. This isn't over. Johnson. Yes, it is, Bumpy replied. You just don't know it yet. The FBI agents disappeared into the night. Leon with them. Gone. Protected. Alive. The crowd erupted in applause, cheering, celebrating. They'd seen Bumpy Johnson face down the federal government and win. But Bumpy wasn't celebrating. He stood in the center of the room, tape recorder in one hand, the weight of what came next already pressing down. He raised his voice. One of Malcolm's 3 killers is about to die. 2 more remain. The cheering stopped. The room fell silent, understanding what Bumpy meant, what he was promising. Justice, not from courts, not from police, but from the streets. 3 hours until the meeting at Newark Docks. 3 hours to prepare. 3 hours until William Bradley's last night on Earth. 3 in the morning. Newark Docks. The smell of salt water, oil, and decay hung in the cold air. February wind cut through everything, sliced through coats, through skin, down to bone. The docks were silent, ships creaking against their moorings, water slapping wooden pilings, rats scurrying through shadows, no one around. Perfect place for a meeting, perfect place for a trap. A black Buick rolled slowly down the concrete road, headlights off, engine purring. It stopped behind warehouse number 3. Old building, rusted metal siding, broken windows, abandoned years ago. The engine cut. Silence returned. William Bradley stepped out, 6'2", 200 pounds, shotgun hidden under his long coat. The same weapon he'd used at the Audubon ballroom. The same weapon that had torn holes in MalcolmX's chest. His eyes scanned the darkness, looking for movement, for shapes that didn't belong. For Leon. For anyone. Nothing. Just wind. Just shadows. Just the sound of waves. "Leon," he called, voice low, cautious, no answer. He walked closer to the warehouse, careful, avoiding the few working streetlights, hand on the shotgun under his coat. Ready. 50 steps from the car. That's when he heard it. Footsteps behind him. Fast. Close. William spun around, hand reaching for the shotgun. Nothing. Empty darkness. The footsteps had stopped. He turned back toward the warehouse, and Bumpy Johnson stood there, 2 meters away, appeared like a ghost, like he'd materialized from shadows. William's hand moved, too slow. The blow came from behind. Illinois. Steel pipe to the back of the neck. Professional. Precise. Calculated to stun. Not kill. Everything went black. When William woke, his world had changed. Hands tied behind his back with rope. Sitting in a metal chair. Cold. Industrial. A single bare bulb swung overhead, casting harsh light on cracked concrete. Everything else was darkness. His head pounded, vision blurry. He tried to move. The rope bit deeper into his wrists. Checked his coat. The shotgun was gone. "Good evening," a calm voice said. Bumpy Johnson sat in a chair opposite him, legs crossed, cigarette in hand. Relaxed, like they were having coffee. Not an interrogation. Illinois stood behind William, silent, holding steel pliers that caught the light, gleamed like surgical instruments. William's eyes focused, saw the metal table between them. Tape recorder, car battery, jumper cables, more pliers, and a photograph. MalcolmX, lying on the stage. 21 bullet holes. Blood. Death. "Did I interrupt your sleep?" Bumpy asked, taking a drag from his cigarette. William tried to pull his hands free. The rope held. His wrists burned. He swallowed hard, trying to project confidence. "Who the hell are you?" "The only man in this city who still cares how MalcolmX died," Bumpy said, "and the last man you'll ever see." William tried to look calm, controlled, failed. "I'm just a driver. I don't know what you're talking about." Bumpy reached for the tape recorder, pressed play. Leon's voice crackled through the warehouse. Tinny, terrified, but clear. "Second shooter. William Bradley, shotgun, from Newark, Temple number 25. William closed his eyes, breathed once, opened them, changed tactics. "Leon's a rat. FB, I owns him. They make him say whatever they want. You can't trust a word." "You think I care if he's a rat?" Bumpy asked, voice flat, emotionless. "Rats see what they see. Were you at the Audubon or not?" "William, I want a lawyer," William shouted, trying to regain control, trying to remember his rights. "You don't have the right to hold me here." Illinois raised the pliers, moved them close to William's hand. The metal caught the light, Bumpy didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. How many fingers do you need to pull a trigger? William said nothing. His breathing quickened. Bumpy leaned forward, picked up the photograph of Malcolm, held it where William could see. You see this man. 6 daughters. The oldest is 6 years old. The youngest are babies, 8 months. They don't have a father anymore. Because of you. Illinois moved. Fast. Professional. The pliers gripped William's pinky finger. Left hand. Wait. The pliers squeezed. Hard. The sound of bone cracking echoed through the warehouse, like popcorn. Like branches snapping. William screamed. His whole body arched, tried to pull away. The chair scraped on concrete. Blood dripped from his fingertip. Dark. Spreading. Bumpy took another drag of his cigarette. Exhaled slowly. That's the price for your first lie. 2 more times. On the 3rd, I move to your kneecaps. William gasped, sweat pouring down his face, mixing with tears. I was just outside. I didn't go in. I was lookout for them. Liar. Bumpy's voice stayed flat, no emotion. Just fact. I'm not lying. You just said you weren't there at all. Now you're lookout. Which is it? William's eyes darted, looking for escape, finding none. Bumpy stood, walked to the table, picked up the car battery. Heavy. Industrial. 12 volts. Picked up the jumper cables. Red and black. Alligator clips on the ends. William's eyes widened. Real fear now. What are you doing? Old trick I learned from corrupt cops in 1947, Bumpy said, walking back, setting the battery on the floor beside William's chair. You attach these cables to a man's fingers, turn on the battery. The electricity makes every nerve in his body scream. But it doesn't kill you, just makes you wish it would. He connected the cables to the battery terminals, held the clips near William's hand. The metal jaws opened. Closed. Opened. Last chance. Tell me the truth, or we find out how much electricity a human body can take. William broke. All right, I shot him. I fired the shotgun. I was there. Bumpy set the cables down, sat back in his chair. Keep going. William was crying now. Tears streaming, snot running. All pretense gone. I was approached in January. Minister Wilfried Muhammad, from Temple number 25. He said Malcolm was a traitor. Said Elijah Muhammad wanted him gone. Said it was God's will. How much did they pay you? $5,000, half up front, half after. Who were the other shooters? Thomas Hagen, he used the pistol, got caught. And another brother, I don't know his real name. They called him Brother Khalil, from Harlem, Mosque number 7, Malcolm's old temple. The irony cut deep. Malcolm killed by men from his own mosque, the place where he'd built his ministry, where he'd changed lives, betrayed by his own. Bumpy pulled out his tape recorder. Say all of that again. Every word. William repeated everything. Minister Wilfried Muhammad, the recruitment, the $5,000, Elijah Muhammad's orders, Thomas Hagen, Brother Khalil, the shotgun, the Audubon ballroom. All of it. When finished, Bumpy stopped the recorder, slipped it into his jacket. Please, William begged, let me go. I told you everything. Bumpy looked at Illinois. Did he tell us everything? Illinois shook his head. Not yet. He didn't mention FBI. William's eyes widened. Genuine surprise. Or good acting. What, there's no FBI involved? I don't know anything about that. Leon said FBI was involved. Bumpy said. Gene Roberts, undercover cop in Malcolm's security team. You know about that. William hesitated. 3 seconds too long. Illinois picked up the pliers, moved toward William's other hand. Yes, okay. Yes. They knew. William's words rushed out, desperate. FB, I knew everything. Agent Morrison came to the mosque before the shooting, talked to the imam, told him, "Don't worry about cops in the room. Everything's arranged." And that day, February 21st, Gene Roberts stood right next to Malcolm, part of his security. When the shot started, he didn't pull his gun, didn't move, just watched Malcolm die. The tape recorder was still running, capturing every word, every confession, every name. Bumpy walked to the window, looked out at the Hudson River. Black water, reflecting city lights. Cold. Indifferent. "Anything else?" "I've told you everything. I swear." Bumpy's voice came from the darkness. "Do you regret it?" William was silent. Long time. Thinking about his answer, about what Bumpy wanted to hear. Then he made his choice. "No. If I could go back to that day, with $5,000 on the table, I'd still pull the trigger." Bumpy nodded, like he'd expected that answer, like he'd known all along. "Then we're done here." Illinois put down the pliers, stepped back, exhaled quietly. For a moment, William thought he was being released. Hope flickered. Maybe he'd survived. Maybe confession was enough. Then he heard the sound. Unmistakable. A gun being cocked. Hammer pulled back, round in the chamber. Bumpy had turned around, pistol in hand, aimed at William's head, steady, professional. "Malcolm told me he didn't want revenge." Bumpy said, "He wanted truth. You gave me truth." William tried to grasp at hope. Last thread. "So you'll let me go?" Bumpy looked straight into his eyes. No anger, no hatred. Just cold calculation. "The truth is, the world is safer if you're not in it to sell another man's life." William opened his mouth to say something. Plea. Bargain. Beg. The gunshot cut off all last words. One shot. Clean. Center of the forehead. Professional. William's head snapped back. The chair tipped, crashed to the concrete. The shadow on the wall fell with the body. Silence. Just the ringing echo of the gunshot, fading into darkness. Bumpy stood there for 10 seconds, looking at the body. No emotion on his face. No satisfaction. No regret. Just exhaustion. The weight of necessary violence. He bent down, picked up the tape recorder, slipped it into his jacket. The evidence secure. "Take him to the alley behind the mosque," Bumpy told Illinois. "Call NYPD from a payphone. Tell them one of MalcolmX's killers just got shot. Let them think it's gang-related." Illinois nodded, started dragging the body. Heavy, dead weight, leaving a thin trail. As they walked out into the Newark night, wind from the Hudson River blew in. Cold, cutting, burning exposed skin. Bumpy pulled his coat collar up, hand gripping the tape recorder in his pocket. One of Malcolm's 3 killers was dead. 2 more to go, but the last one would be harder, because Brother Khalil wasn't just a hired gun. He'd been Malcolm's protector, his friend. The betrayal ran deeper. The hunt would be more dangerous. Word spread through Harlem like fire. Bumpy Johnson was asking questions, paying for answers. $20,000 for information on Brother Khalil from Mosque Number 7. 3 days passed. Bumpy didn't sleep, didn't rest, just studied files, interviewed informants, tracked connections, building a picture. Word came back. 2 men at Mosque 7 went by the name Khalil, Norman Butler and Thomas Johnson. Both had been Malcolm's security before he left NOI. Both claimed they weren't at the Audubon that day. Both had alibis. One was lying. Bumpy spent 3 days and 3 nights studying their files. Everything he could find. Police records, mosque attendance, family, friends, patterns. Norman Butler, married, wife pregnant, Third trimester. Complications. Gentle. Weak. Followed orders. Never questioned. Never led. Thomas Johnson. Single. Cold. Distant. Military training. Special operations background. Quiet and professional. The kind of man who could kill without flinching. The profiles told different stories. But Bumpy needed proof. Needed to look them in the eye. Read them. Know for certain. 2 a.m. Norman Butler's house. Small. Modest. Harlem brownstone. The door crashed open. Illinois and 4 men. Moving fast. Efficient. Norman's wife screamed. Children crying. Chaos. Fear. They found Norman in the bedroom, dragged him downstairs, tied him to a kitchen chair. His wife held their children, sobbing, terrified. Bumpy walked in, calm, studied Norman's face, the fear, the panic, the confusion. He looked into Norman's eyes, really looked, searching for the coldness of a killer, the calculation, the emptiness. He didn't see it, just saw a small man, caught in something bigger than himself. Were you at the Audubon? No, I was at the hospital with my wife. She was having complications with her pregnancy. I have witnesses, doctors, nurses. I can prove it. Bumpy pulled a photograph from Norman's wallet. Hospital bracelet. Timestamp. February 21st, 1965. 3:10 in the afternoon. The exact time Malcolm was shot. He studied Norman's face again. Fear. Desperation. But not guilt. No guilt at all. If I ask you who the real Khalil is, what would you say? Norman was silent for a long time. His eyes moved to his wife, to his children, to the men with guns standing in his kitchen. Then he lowered his head, whispered, I know. But if I tell you, they'll kill my family. You think they won't do that anyway? Bumpy asked, voice soft, almost gentle. Malcolm's dead. All of Harlem's living with the pain. You think your house is the exception? Norman looked up, tears streaming down his face. Thomas Johnson. They called him Khalil. He was closest to Malcolm that day. He stood right next to him. They chose him specifically to kill the man he used to protect. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, the betrayal complete. Bumpy untied Norman. You're not the man I'm looking for, but you're going to help me find him. And the final trap for Thomas Johnson would teach the hardest lesson about betrayal. The trap for Thomas Johnson took 1 week to set. Not violence, not torture, something more elegant, more final. Bumpy used Norman Butler, sent him back to Mosque number 7 with a message. Brother Khalil needed to meet, urgent business, questions about Malcolm's death, police closing in, need to align stories. Thomas Johnson agreed, suggested they meet at the mosque. Friday prayers, safety in numbers, 600 witnesses. No one would dare make a move. Exactly what Bumpy wanted. Friday afternoon, Mosque number 7. 600 people packed inside. Prayers finished. People lingering, talking. Community gathering like always. Thomas Johnson stood near the front, calm, confident. Norman beside him. Nervous, sweating. Bumpy's men were scattered through the crowd. 15 of them. Invisible. Waiting. Norman delivered the message. Brother Khalil, there's someone who wants to talk. About February 21st. Thomas turned, saw Bumpy Johnson walking toward him. Through the crowd. Direct. Purposeful. We need to talk about Malcolm, Bumpy said, voice loud enough for others to hear. Thomas smiled. Cold. I don't know what you mean. Leon Davis confessed. William Bradley confessed. Before he died. They both named you. Brother Khalil. The third shooter. The mosque went silent. 600 people listening now. Watching. Thomas's hand moved to his waistband. Instinct. training, reaching for the gun hidden there. "Go ahead," Bumpy said. "Pull it out. Show everyone who you really are." Thomas hesitated, looked around. 600 witnesses, all watching, all waiting. He pulled the gun, raised it, aimed at Bumpy's chest. "You're lying." "Then pull the trigger. Prove me wrong." Thomas squeezed. The trigger clicked. Nothing. No gunshot. No explosion. Just a hollow click. He squeezed again. Click. Again. Click. The gun was loaded with blanks. Bumpy's men had switched the bullets the night before, broken into Thomas's apartment, replaced live rounds with dummy rounds. But 600 people had just watched Thomas Johnson pull a gun in a mosque. Aim it at a man. Try to fire. Intent to kill. Clear. Undeniable. Sirens wailed outside. NYPD crashed through the doors. Bumpy had called them 30 minutes earlier. Anonymous tip. Man with a gun at Mosque number 7. Planning violence. The officers saw Thomas, gun in hand. 600 witnesses. They tackled him, cuffed him, dragged him out. No blood, no torture, just justice. Witnessed by everyone. Undeniable. Clean. Thomas Johnson screamed as they pulled him away. "It was God's will. Malcolm betrayed us. He deserved to die." The confession echoed through the mosque. 600 people heard it, would remember it, would testify to it. The third shooter was caught. Malcolm's killers were accounted for. All three. But the tapes, the recordings, the truth, those needed to survive longer than Bumpy Johnson's life. The safe was hidden in a basement in Harlem, behind a false wall, inside a building Bumpy owned under a shell company. 3 levels of protection. Only Illinois knew the location. Bumpy placed the tapes inside. Leon Davis's confession, William Bradley's confession, Norman Butler's testimony. All of it. Hours of recordings, names, dates, payments, FBI involvement, everything. He recorded one final tape, his own voice. Clear, direct. February 28th, 1965. "My name is Bumpy Johnson. This is testimony about who killed Malcolm X." He paused, let the tape run, then continued. "I'm not a judge, not a lawyer, not a good man. I'm just someone who keeps promises. Malcolm X asked me to find the truth. Not revenge. Truth. This is that truth." Another pause. 3 shooters. Thomas Hagen, also called Talmadge Hayer, caught at the scene. William Bradley shot Malcolm with a 12-gauge shotgun, now deceased. Thomas Johnson, called Brother Khalil, arrested at Mosque number 7, witnessed by 600 people attempting to fire a weapon. He listed the others: Minister Wilfred Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, Agent Dale Morrison, Gene Roberts. Everyone involved, every name, every connection. Malcolm wanted the truth to survive, so I'm leaving these tapes, for whoever finds them, for history, for his daughters, so they know their father didn't die for nothing. He stopped the recording, placed it with the others, locked the safe. Years would pass. Bumpy would die. The safe would remain hidden, until a young journalist, investigating Malcolm's death in the 1990s, found a reference in old police files, a storage unit, a basement, a name. She found the tapes in a dusty cardboard box, listened to them, heard the voices of dead men, confessing, naming names, telling truth that the government had buried. She published her findings. The tapes became evidence. Cases reopened. Names revealed. History rewritten. People argued about who really ordered Malcolm X's murder. Government, Nation of Islam. Both. Neither. The debates continued. Would always continue. But the tapes didn't lie. Couldn't lie. Just voices, facts, evidence, truth preserved. Every name, every payment, every face. recorded for history, permanent, undeniable. Malcolm X died on stage with 21 bullets in his body. But the names of the men who killed him were not allowed to die with him, not while Bumpy Johnson was alive. And even after he died, those tapes remained. Truth sometimes needs a man like Bumpy to survive. Bumpy Johnson was a gangster, a criminal, a killer. Everything society condemns, everything the law opposes. But he did what the entire justice system refused to do. He called out the names of the men who ordered the killing of a black man who dared to speak truth, who dared to challenge power, who dared to believe his people deserved better. The government knew. FBI knew. NYPD knew. They all knew who killed Malcolm X. But they chose silence, chose cover-up, chose protecting the system over protecting the truth. Bumpy chose different. He used cassette tapes instead of knives, confessions instead of bullets, intelligence instead of just violence. He turned brutality into something that would outlast him. Evidence, testimony, truth that couldn't be buried, couldn't be burned, couldn't be forgotten. Real intelligence isn't about violence. It's about making violence serve a purpose beyond itself. It's about turning rage into legacy, pain into justice, death into truth that survives. Malcolm wanted truth. Bumpy gave him truth, the only way he knew how, forcing it from the mouths of killers, recording it, preserving it, making sure it survived. Truth sometimes needs a man like Bumpy Johnson to exist, not because he was good, not because he was righteous, but because he was the only one who wasn't afraid of what good people fear. Power. Systems. The price of speaking truth in a world built on lies. The question isn't whether Bumpy Johnson was a good man. He wasn't. The question is whether good men were willing to do what needed doing. They weren't. So it fell to a gangster, a criminal, a man who understood that sometimes the only way to serve justice is to step outside the law, to become the thing society fears, to make truth survive by any means necessary. And today, when you hear this story, ask yourself this question. If you were Bumpy Johnson, if you made that promise to Malcolm X, would you choose revenge or truth? Because revenge is easy. Revenge is satisfying. Revenge feels good. Kill the men who pulled the triggers. Walk away. Done. But truth is harder. Truth requires patience, planning, sacrifice. Truth requires making people confess, recording their words, preserving evidence, making sure it survives beyond your life. Revenge dies with you. Truth lives forever. Malcolm X understood that. Bumpy Johnson learned it. And those tapes, hidden in a basement in Harlem, proved it. Sometimes truth is more painful than any bullet. Because bullets kill bodies. But truth kills lies, kills cover-ups, kills the comfortable fiction that justice systems work. That good always triumphs. That speaking truth keeps you safe. Malcolm died proving those fictions wrong. Bumpy lived making sure everyone knew it, and the tapes remain. Evidence. Legacy. Truth that refuses to die. That's the real story. Not about violence, not about revenge. About one promise kept. About truth preserved. About a gangster who understood something most good people never learn. Sometimes the world needs monsters, not to commit evil, but to fight it. Not to destroy, but to preserve. Not to kill, but to make truth survive.